Hello, I'm joining you here from Kampala in Uganda today for Becky's Bible Thoughts, an opportunity just to explore a little bit of this wonderful book in a few minutes of your time. So thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, I'm really enjoying digging into the book of Mark at the moment and just looking into some of those stories that are so familiar to see some new facets of God's character and, of course, new lessons that I can apply to my own life. I expect we've all heard that story of the feeding of the 5,000, right? Jesus takes 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. He looks up to heaven and he blesses that food. The disciples distribute it, and there is enough food somehow from those 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread to feed a crowd of 5,000 people, well, 5,000 men, plus any women and children that happened to be there at the time. I always think that miracle must have been absolutely astounding for the disciples with Jesus to have seen. You know, it was something so practical, something that absolutely could not possibly be explained in any way other than God intervening with miraculous provision. But not too long after, as you continue reading through the book of Mark, you get to Mark chapter 8, where this happens. During those days, another large crowd gathered. Since they had nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I have compassion for these people. They have already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will collapse on the way because some of them have come a long distance." His disciples answered, "But where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed them?" Now, remember, this is after the feeding of the 5,000. See, not one of those disciples said, wait, just a minute. This is seeming a little bit familiar right now. I feel like I'm having some deja vu here, you know? Didn't we have a very similar conversation with Jesus once before in front of another big crowd of people? This could be an opportunity for Jesus to do another amazing miracle. And we get to see it. Isn't that amazing? Not one of the disciples spoke like that. Instead, collectively, the disciples looked at Jesus and shook their heads and said, "Sorry, Jesus, you are talking about something a little bit impossible here. There are 4,000 people in front of us and we are in a remote place. It is simply not possible for us to find the food to feed them." Now, it's very easy to smile a little bit smugly reading this passage and think, silly disciples. They should have had more faith, shouldn't they? They should have remembered what Jesus did last time. And it was, as I was probably thinking thoughts very much along those lines, that I had that sort of gut punch of a moment when the word of the living, breathing word of God really speaks to you. And I found myself thinking, yes, but how many times have I done exactly the same thing as that? I think we sometimes have very, very short-term memories when it comes to the things that God has done in our lives. So much so that whenever we face a situation that looks a little bit too hard for us, a little bit impossible, we don't think, "Oh yeah, but God came through for me in a situation really like this before, so, I'm sure he's going to do it again. I'm going to be okay here." Instead, we act more like the disciples and laugh and say, "You have got to be kidding, God. I can't be doing that. That's impossible. That is not within my skill set. I can't do what you're asking me to do here, God." I chuckle at myself sometimes because I've preached the word of God so many times, and I've led Bible studies, and I've recorded loads and loads of these videos, and yet still sometimes it'll get to a day or two before I'm due to speak, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to say, and I start to think, oh no, maybe God's not going to give me a word this time. Maybe I'm all on my own here, despite the fact that he has always come through for me in exactly that same situation over and over and over and over and over again. And maybe you have a similar situation in your own life. Maybe there was a time where you just didn't have enough money to pay the bills, and somehow that money was there. Somehow you were able to afford to feed the family and pay the rent and whatever it was. And yet the next time that situation happens, it's, oh no. Like, what if this time is different? What if God doesn't come through for me this time? There's so many situations that we can find ourselves in where we start asking that question, and we start forgetting the times that God has moved in power on our behalf before. So it is so very important for us to remember the things that God has done in our lives. It's important for us to talk about them, reminding ourselves of the greatness and the goodness and the power of our God is such a faith builder, especially I find when it's a really specific situation and we have really seen an answer to a prayer that we had been praying. It's a faith builder for us, and it's a faith builder for other people as well. It makes us aware, again, that a situation may seem impossible, but that we have seen God move on our behalf before, and we will see him do it again. It reminds me of a song by Elevation Worship called Do It Again. And just one of the lines in the bridge of that song says, I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. Remembering those moments, remembering those times where God moved mountains on our behalf, remembering those times where he made a way where there seemed to be no way. Those things fill us with faith again. They remind us of everything he can do. I wonder, has God ever moved a mountain on your behalf? Has he ever worked a miracle for you? Has he ever brought you through a tough time when all you wanted to do was give up? Remember those moments. He has done it before, and he will do it again. In fact, I would challenge you, even right now, at the end of this video, just take a tiny little moment and remember a time when God came through for you. It can be in a little tiny way or in a huge life-altering way. It doesn't matter. Just remember it. Remember how it felt seeing God come through for you, because it will renew your faith, and it will remind you that what he's done once, he can do again. He will move mountains for you. He will come through for you. He is faithful, faithful God, the God abounding in love for us, his children. He is a good God, and he delights in us, and that means that he moves on our behalf. He is the miracle worker. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope this has encouraged you. I hope it reminds you that our God is a great, big, good God. I'll be back with another video on Friday, so I will see you then.